the best place to work.
I love working here.
I feel very blessed.
I love it here.
I look forward to coming to work every day, being a part of this team.
Like a family away from home.
Where everyone feels like everybody knows their name.
A city that supports you. We see that with our benefits.
A pension, vacation days, job security.
Being able to be heard.
We feel valued. We feel respected.
Lee's Summit is a very progressive city.
It's growing, it's thriving.
We have this drive towards not just doing a job, but doing it with a spirit of excellence.
I had the opportunity to continue to grow, regardless of 30 plus years doing this kind of work.
It's more than just dollars and cents.
We're here really to give back.
Providing a service to better a community.
To go out and serve people.
To be a part of something bigger than yourself. If I would have known what I know now, years ago, I would have been here much sooner.
Lee Summit has lots of local destinations, but where do you start? Green Street, a vibrant community space in the heart of downtown, is where Lee Summit comes together. Its 3 dynamic areas have something for everyone. Green Street Market is a modern event venue and home to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market. Green Street Lawn is a covered performance space hosting live music, family activities, and more. Green Street Grove is a mixture of gathering spaces, an immersive playground, and bold architectural features. And all 3 areas host community events year-round. So the next time you set out to enjoy the city you love, remember, meet at Green Street.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, or no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're going to go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T is back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Keeping our city beautiful is a collaborative effort for all citizens. The City of Lee Summit supports these efforts with a set of guidelines or ordinances, and the city's neighborhood services team helps put those guidelines into practice. These guidelines ensure grass stays trimmed, fences are maintained, home exteriors are kept up, and much more. We can all help out by first making sure our property meets these guidelines. If you notice a potential violation on a neighbor's property, first check the guidelines on the city's website. If it is a violation, the next step is to communicate with your neighbor directly. If that is not possible, or if the problem persists, it can be reported through LS Connect. LS Connect is an online platform for submitting issues to the city. You can access it on the city website or by downloading the app through your mobile device's app store. Once you submit an issue, it is reviewed by the Neighborhood Services team. A Neighborhood Services officer will then visit the site. For any violations found, the Neighborhood Services officer will leave a notice and speak with the property owner if possible. The officer's goal is to help the property owner solve or abate the problem as quickly as possible. After a 10-day period, the officer will inspect the site to see if the issue has been abated. Normally, by this point, the issue has been resolved. If not, depending on the type of issue, an extension could be granted, or the city might fix the problem at the owner's expense. In rare cases, if all other measures have been applied, the issue will be resolved in the municipal court. Neighborhood Services officers work hard to resolve problems quickly and positively. They are here to support the community as we work together to keep our city beautiful.
Member Lovell. Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, Ryan. Thank you. Is there any indicator that shows, are we supporting a need with...
You know, they talk about like gym rats, kids that grew up with their dads that were coaches. Like I was a city hall rat. My dad, Tom Lovell, was hired as the Parks Administrator in 1978 and spent 40 years in public service here in Lee Summit. I would go up on the weekends when he was working and I'd run around and play and do things, and I didn't know what he was doing at the time, but I just knew that was part of our weekend routine some days was to go up and hang out at City Hall. Being part of a city from a young age to now in my adult life, you reap so many benefits from that. The people you know, you care more for something that you've been a part of. My wife and I knew we wanted to raise a family. Just trying to find a community that we thought we could raise our children in, that was good to me, and it just felt like the right move as we were deciding on a city to come back to. Fortunate to have started a business in 2018. I founded Lovell Insurance Group, and we are a business insurance brokerage. So we help businesses procure insurance. Decided to throw our flag in the ground here in Lee Summit, and it's grown. I also have this passion for learning and curiosity, and I started a podcast series. So I really enjoy this opportunity where I sit down with business owners and tell their story, and get this out to other people in hopes that maybe it betters their life and gives them some inspiration or something. It's going to be a really exciting time, and obviously this city's in my blood. My dad's been a part of it for a long time, so I'm really excited. Thank you all. A lot of people would say I was crazy, right? So why do you throw your hand up and subject yourself to going into city politics? I think, especially as I've gotten older, I just felt, maybe a civic duty, like a responsibility to say, hey, this city's been great to me. Here's a way that I can give back and take some of my skills and put them to work for the people of this city. I wanted to bring a different, maybe way of thinking and take some of my business acumen and see areas that it may apply to how we develop and grow this community, and just give a different perspective. One of our biggest challenges, but also one of our biggest opportunities, is how do we develop and grow this community? We don't want to grow too fast, but we want to grow at a pace that helps support, who and what we are as a community. So, we've got a lot of opportunities, whether that be through development or parks. We've got a lot of land coming on board. So I just think it's important, it's a challenge, but it's also our greatest opportunity. And so we just got to be smart how we do that. It's just asking some different questions. Like I'm one that, I'm not contrarian for contrarian's sake. What I am is someone will tell me something and then I want to get to that position with them by just asking thoughtful questions along the way. And then if I can get there, then I feel like we've answered everything we can to move that forward versus, hey, here's kind of how we've done it. I'm never this is how we do it, this is how we've always done it, and this is how we'll continue to do it. Office of Council Member for District 2. All of my practical experience has put me in this position to serve, and I just raised my hand and said I want to do that. For which I was elected on April 5th, 2022. I feel this obligation to carry this legacy that my dad did, my family did, and then giving my kids an environment to grow up in that makes them want to come back. My kids have started rec sports through the Parks and Recreation system, and I'm watching them play soccer on this sport field that, you know, my dad helped develop. And my dad's sitting there with me, right? I mean, that's the stuff that really matters in life.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Community and Economic Development Committee for Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Can I get a call to order, please? Or roll call, please?
Vice Chair Carlisle. Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Funk.
Here.
Chairperson Hodges.
Here.
And Commissioner Trafton.
Here.
All right, and can I get an approval of the agenda, please?
Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the agenda as published.
Second. All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Funk.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Chairperson Hodges.
Aye. All right, and we don't have any public comment, correct?
I have not received
Perfect.
any public comments.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the business. We'll go 5A, approval of the December 10th, 2025 Community Economic Development Committee action letter.
Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the December 10th, 2025 Community and Economic Development Committee action letter.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Funk.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Chairperson Carlisle. Yep, Hodges.
Aye. All right, moving on to 5B, TMP-3575, discussion of carnival regulations. Ms. Albers.
Good afternoon. Tracy Albers, Development Services. Just wanted to quickly set the table for the discussions today. At the December CEDC meeting, Chief Forbes and I both presented some information about the importance of creating a safer experience at carnivals for guests, specifically families, at Downtown Days and Oktoberfest. The bulk of the potential changes that we talked about that evening can be sorted broadly into two buckets. First, potential changes to the rides and the games themselves that are offered by the carnival providers. And second, changes to the event logistics, things like hours of operation, chaperone requirements, security, and the like. Staff can make recommendations all day long, but ultimately who CEDC really wanted to hear from is our colleagues from the Chamber and Downtown Lee Summit. Specifically, feedback from the carnival companies that they use about what changes they may be agreeable to. So tonight we've got Megan Gray from the Chamber, Julie Cook from Downtown LS, with their respective proposals for how their carnival operations could be modified to meet the overarching safety goals had by staff, CEDC, and council. So I think on that note, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Julie. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As she said, my name is Julie Cook. I'm the Events and Promotions Director for Downtown Lee Summit Main Street, and I want to thank you for inviting me to speak with you this afternoon and to share a presentation. And I believe we all are working towards the same goal of mitigating risks and providing the safest possible experience for our members of our community. And we know that as special events draw thousands of people to downtown, we are mindful of the challenges and some of the safety risks that come with large crowds. And so in my presentation, I'll touch on some ways we could adjust the layout of our entire event, Downtown Days, how we could keep people moving and disperse those crowds. And I'll also address the proposed carnival regulations and share feedback from our current carnival provider. So first, I want to talk about some previous adjustments we've made to the carnival. Now, we do understand the concerns with large crowds and large volume of unattended youth at our event. And I want to start by saying that I think Downtown Days specifically is drawing so many people, especially young people, because it is the first weekend in June. School is out, and it is a free event that is open to the public. And we have heard from LSPD that they have identified a carnival as a major part of the event that they believe attracts a high volume of unattended youth. And so throughout my 10 years of experience with Downtown Days, I would say that there's a lot of factors with this event that are drawing people to Downtown Days, and the carnival is one of the anchor points of our event, and I'm going to talk about some of the others as well. But first and foremost, one of our goals in 2025, for our 2025 festival, I should say, was really to wrap our heads around how we could kind of scale back some of these elements of the carnival and achieve those public safety goals that LSPD and city staff had identified with our team. And so I want to start by sharing some of the adjustments that we made. First and foremost, we prioritized keeping Market Street open to traffic. A lot of this was also due in part to the construction that was happening at Green Street. And so by prioritizing keeping Market Street open, that reduced the footprint for our carnival company to set up rides. And so they removed 4 major thrill rides from the festival in 2025. Secondly, we did reduce the number of games of chance. Prior to 2025, both sides of 3rd Street between Market Street and ITAP would have been lined with games on every side. And so we wanted more room for pedestrian egress along 3rd Street, and so we updated their layout to ensure that a game booth was not set up directly across from another game booth. And third, we implemented a staggered closure where ticket sales ended at 9 p.m. and rides shut down at 9:30. The rest of our festival remained open until 10 p.m. So while we scaled back the carnival with those 3 points that I said in 2025, I felt that there were 4 other strategies that were more effective in terms of safety and security for our event overall, and I want to highlight those. First and foremost, the investment that our city and LSPD has made in purchasing barricades was monumental, and I want this committee to know that because our city approved for that, you practically eliminated the risk of a vehicular fatality inside the event perimeter. And secondly, the mobile unit the LSPD has is a great addition to the event. It's a great addition to their fleet, and we were very happy to have that in 2025 for the first time. Secondly, our nonprofit organization hired 10 private security officers. As we've said, we worked with Titan starting in 2024, and they worked directly with LSPD. And I believe that partnership has been indispensable, and that is something that we will continue to do moving forward. Third, we added 2 floodlights in 2025. One of the floodlights was placed at the epicenter of the festival, which is 3rd and Southeast Main Street. And one was placed in a parking lot at 4th and Douglas Street across from the Dairy Queen. So those are 2 areas of the festival that we felt we needed to have illuminated since it continued till 10 p.m. after dark. Lastly, I want to highlight the effectiveness of proactive policing strategies, and that's something that we should all be very proud that we have in Lee's Summit. And I want to say that the way LSPD has approached staffing this event has been the most helpful thing that has mitigated risks. And so we commend our police and fire department for their hard work. And I think that is one of the most effective things we can do is keeping that force strong. All right, next up, before I address the carnival operations in more specificity, I want to share our plan for Downtown Days to update our festival layout for this June 2026. I believe in order to disperse crowds throughout the festival footprint, I think we need to separate our festival anchor points. And that starts with relocating our main stage, our largest beer tent, and our major food vendors from Southeast Main Street to Green Street. That will be the new anchor point for the east side of downtown, the east side of our festival footprint. The carnival will remain the anchor point on the west side, and separating those 2 would be our vendor booths in the center. I have a map to show, I have a map for 2025 and then one for a proposal for 2026. So starting with 2025, one thing I want to bring up is that one reason I think we have seen such densely packed crowds at 3rd and Southeast Main and 3rd and Southwest Main, what I am calling the epicenter of our festival activity, is that Green Street and 3rd Street were both under construction. They were construction zone in 2024 and 2025. So you can see on our 2025 map that our main stage, our largest beer tent and food, is right next to the train tracks and the carnival. Because of that proximity, I felt that closing the carnival at 9:30 p.m. to disperse crowds in that area was probably not as effective as it may have been if our main stage with all of our live music and our large beer tent was positioned further away than it was, if that makes sense. So I think the fact that that was the epicenter of the festival made a staggered closure last year not as effective as I would have, and I think LSPD would have wanted it to be. Now, transitioning this slide to 2026, already I feel relief looking at the opportunities that are available to us now with the brilliant new Green Street development. Ryan Elam spoke in November about the infrastructure and layout of the event and how that impacts where crowds form. And so, as I said, we want to move 3 major attractions, live music, beer tent, and festival food to Green Street. And I think it's been challenging to have 3rd and Southeast Main and that area by the train tracks be the epicenter of the festival activity. We would like this opportunity to spread out further to the east, away from the train tracks. I think that's something that the train tracks have been a problem area, and we'd like to move some major attractions away from the train. We will be seeking permission to close the intersection at 3rd and Green Street to position food vendors in that intersection. I do understand that might not be permitted, but that's what I would propose. And so it's my belief that routing traffic onto Johnson and 4th Street would be beneficial because that would allow for more separation between pedestrians and moving vehicles at the festival. Some benefits to this new layout. Green Street has more room to accommodate crowds. Crowds can disperse throughout the festival perimeter, more so than when we were all crunched on Southeast Main Street for that last year. So this is 2026 proposal. Secondly, like I said, separating the carnival from the music, the beer, and food vendors. Again, separating those 2 anchor points. And then thirdly, it would potentially make a staggered closure more feasible. By that meaning, if you wanted to keep live music and beer sales going at Green Street, perhaps later than carnival hours of operation, because there's more separation between the 2, I think logistically speaking, that's more feasible. People who are enjoying the live music at Green Street literally cannot see any of the carnival rides from that new vantage point. There's too much space between. Now, we use the term ordinance. I understand that might seem very legal, but the proposal that you all have heard about carnival restrictions, I want to share some more details with you. We've spoken at length with our current carnival provider, Evans United Shows, and shared with them all the specific points of that. And so I want to share their feedback. Next. First and foremost, to discuss the hours of operation that were proposed. The proposal was to have rides shut off by 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday. Now, this would present 2 significant challenges in the eyes of our carnival company: profitability and impacting the customer experience. So to speak on profitability, our carnival company shared with us that they generate between 38 and 54% of their daily revenue between 7 p.m. and closing time of the festival. That's Friday and Saturday, so that's the significance of that time period in terms of ticket sales. We also they shared concerns about how that might impact the customer experience, since our crowds for the event peak from 7 to 9 p.m. Friday was especially an issue because looking at the placer data for both Friday and Saturday, you can tell, even though the festival opens at noon Friday, traffic is pretty much a plateau that entire 6 hours leading up to 6 p.m. and then 7 to 9 is when it hits its peak. So there were some concerns from our Carnival company that I think are worth considering, that families who would show up to Downtown Days at 7 or later would be turned away if all the rides were shut off. And so it's concerns about disappointing people or not being able to provide a quality experience that people expect is something I think that is good to be mindful of. So I just wanted to provide some data for you on the peak time of our crowds is 7 to 9 p.m. currently. Next, I want to talk more about our current Carnival company's concerns with the ride selection parameters being potentially too restrictive. So one thing we want to ensure is that any parameters that would be set in a legal sort of ordinance or law, we want to ensure that we don't eliminate family-friendly rides that we would want to have set up at the event. Now, they provided me with some more information about their rides, pictures, height requirements that I can share in a moment. And I think it's worth noting that most rides require someone over 42 inches tall to ride along with a child. And 3 that I want to highlight, a Ferris wheel, bumper cars, and a big slide, are 3 rides or attractions, in my opinion, that have been iconic pieces of our festival, or any festival, if you will, that I would like to see permitted to be set up. But if the restrictions, would not allow for those 3 components, then I think that does really limit what types of rides would be allowed. And again, like I said, there was a suggestion to have the Carnival company that we would work with to provide photos and height requirements for city staff to review with the special event permit review process. The suggestion was to allow for more latitude for the ride selection and review, as opposed to an ordinance that would prohibit certain types of rides. All right, addressing the midway games, the proposal was to basically not allow midway games whatsoever. And one challenge that our carnival said that would represent is, again, it could be too restrictive. There is some variability in the types of games that they have available. And so if there was a way that we could allow for some family-friendly games, such as a duck pond or games that have a prize every time, that would be more optimal. Potentially stating something like no skill-based games could be an alternative way to phrase that if you want to get more specific with types of games that would be acceptable versus not. So I know at this point you may be asking, is there a different carnival provider or a rental company that we could partner with for our festival? Or is there a company that can check all of these boxes? Meaning, could they meet the requirements of the proposed carnival restrictions as presented in November and December? Are they a reliable company? Do they have sufficient staff, quality attractions, positive references? And lastly, are they available? Megan Gray with the Chamber and I both did our due diligence by researching over a dozen carnival providers and rental companies. And those were the questions I asked in that process. Ultimately, I have not found another carnival provider or rental company that I would be comfortable partnering with for our festival at this time. Not one that I spoke to could fulfill all three of these objectives. I have not found a reputable vendor who specializes in smaller or kiddie attractions, essentially one that does not have major thrill rides in their fleet, that is, that I would feel confident contracting with. I spoke directly with festival organizers while vetting these companies. I spoke to festival organizers who have had a carnival company cancel on them last minute, ones who have dealt with carnival providers who did not have enough staff, who didn't hire enough staff to operate their rides, and so rides sat out of service all weekend. And so these are concerning things to hear, and I feel it is most advantageous to partner with a reliable provider. And the company that we feel confident partnering with for 2026 is Evans United Shows. They have been in business for 80 years and have been our carnival provider for Downtown Days for 10 years. They have a vast ride selection. Their rides are inspected and fully insured. They have a reliable staff. It's a turnkey operation. They have committed to doing our festival in June. Now, we've had extensive conversations with them, and I can tell you that safety is their top priority. We are all aligned on that. And as we plan for June, our goal is to mitigate risks wherever we can while we continue this tradition in our community. And so they are willing to make changes and measure the impact and reevaluate for 2027 and going forward from there. However, they have expressed concerns that any type of ordinance or law restricting hours of operation to 7 p.m. and limiting their ride selection extensively would impact their bottom line to the point that they may not be able to return in 2027. As I close out my presentation, I want to share a synopsis of the 5 proposed changes for 2026 for your consideration. First and foremost, I think closing the entire festival at 9 p.m. would be a beneficial step for us to take. Traditionally, or historically, our festival hours would go till 10. And there were many years where carnival rides and beer sales, food sales were going till 10:30 or later. But I think closing the entire festival at 9 p.m. would be beneficial. So that would mean the carnival would stop selling tickets for rides at 8:30 and all rides would shut down. Beer tents, live music, vendor booths would all close at 9. And again, like I've said, this is also based on the fact that crowds are at their peak between 7 and 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. And I believe that 9 to 10 p.m. is our most problematic time because it is after dark, and dealing with dispersing crowds of unattended youth would be more beneficial at sunset rather than after dark, in my opinion. Thirdly, this could drive traffic to downtown restaurants and bars after 9 p.m. when the festival closes, and I think that's a beneficial thing as well, because we want to economically support downtown businesses. That second bullet point, the layout adjustments that I spoke about, involving the use of Green Street and the intersection at 3rd and Green, I think that would be beneficial to explore expanding the festival east. Third, our third proposal is to have our carnival company provide photos and height requirements of all the rides that they wish to set up, and to have those rides reviewed through the special event permit process rather than setting strict language in an ordinance I think giving city staff more latitude to review each ride and approve the ones that they would be comfortable with and rejecting those that they feel are not acceptable, I believe would be the path forward. Fourth, if we can shift our footprint further east to encompass 3rd and Green, I think we can open up those intersections that I spoke about on each side of the train tracks, both 3rd and Southwest Main and 3rd and Southeast Main. You can distribute the attractions and the Carnival food booths a little bit more to not have those areas be so densely packed. They have more room to spread out and more room for pedestrian egress as well. And lastly, implementing strategies to disperse crowds. I believe Megan Gray is going to cover some more of those strategies in more detail in her presentation, and we would be happy to implement those as well for downtown days. I have just one more slide, and then I want to show you the example of the rides. I want to end by saying that we are seeking direction and guidance from you so that we can move forward with a plan for June. And I think it's important to do what's best for our community. And we also want to be mindful that time is of the essence, and we also have the opportunity to make changes incrementally. And we feel it's important to be decisive about our hours of operation and festival attractions so that we can update our communications to recruit sponsors for this June, to send communication to vendors, and inform the public about what to expect. And so your feedback and your input is very important, and I believe that that sets the tone for 2026 and beyond. We want to be good partners, and we want to provide the type of special events that our city is proud of. And one thing I wanted to show for reference, there we go. This is a file that Evans United Shows shared with me as an example of rides in their fleet that they would request to set up, and you can see the height requirements. Scooters, I would call them bumper cars, 48 inches to ride solo, or you have to be 42 inches to ride with an adult. You have the tilt-a-whirl, and we're happy to provide copies of this to this group as well, if you'd be interested in reviewing. You can see the carousel, you can see the jumping Dumbos. Again, all of these, in my opinion, considered family-friendly in my experience. The Go-Gator, the Dizzy Dragon, motorcycle jump, the Jeeps, musical chairs, and the Super Slide. They have a ride called the Sizzler, Rocking Tug, Genesis, Bungee Jump, and last, my personal favorite, a Ferris wheel. So again, happy to make those available to you. I guess at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Furthermore, our Carnival provider, Evans United Shows, is in attendance here today. So if you would have any specific questions for them, they'd be happy to answer if I can't. So I will yield the floor at this time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that presentation. That was really well thought through, so thank you. Let's go ahead and start. You had questions, correct?
I think, the easiest question is going back to when we had our previous discussion, we were looking at the cost to impact to both organizations. What's the cost impact?
When you say the cost impact, just so I understand, are you meaning strictly dollars and cents, like financially the cost?
Yes.
Or could you expand on that?
The easiest way to put it, if we said to you that option A, no carnival, as we talked last time we were here, what's the cost impact to downtown Main Street? What's the cost impact to the chamber for downtown days? Or excuse me, for Oktoberfest. If we say, hey, if we're going to come to you and we're going to tell you, and even Evans, the folks that are here, if we're saying, hey, this is what we want. We don't want anything that spins around really fast. We don't want anything that shoots up in the air. We don't want this, because that's our part of working with the police department and so on and so forth, of how we're going to carve down the safety piece and what kind of age bracket we're catering to. What's that cost impact? If the carnival vendor, if they set up all their stuff and it just rains all weekend, nobody's going to come ride the rides. They shouldn't be turned on for safety features. What's that cost? What did it cost this company to come and set up in our downtown with the rides that we selected? I guess to make it simple, option A, we say no carnival. What's the cost impact? What is that doing to downtown Main Street and to the chamber? Option 2 is if we come before you tonight and we all agree upon what kind of ride selection that we would like to see, what's that cost impact? Are you still making what you're making? Are you still profitizing on this? I understand the carnival vendor's probably going to be a little bit higher in his fees and those kind of things to make his profit. But my point that I'm getting to is, as a council, we have PSAs with both groups. If we're asking you to do something that is not going to allow you to make your net revenue, maybe this body needs to go to the full council and we need to understand the amount of money that we may have to pay back to the PSAs because we're asking you to do something that is not allowing you to continue on with your revenue stream. So I guess for me, we don't have any cost impact as we asked the time before. We're trying to work on your timeline to get to the carnival guys, but our question last time was, what is this cost impact? I mean, are we talking $50? Are we talking $5,000? Are we talking $30,000? We don't know. So I think that's a very important question for me before we go through all this.
Chair, if I may, and I'm not sure if Julie's prepared to answer this, but
I can answer this.
I would say $25,000 to $30,000 is the number that, from a profit standpoint, relatively for both organizations. Now, in conversations with them as well, that's carnival sales alone, and one of the unknowns is, does that impact any of the rest of the festival attendance? Essentially like that, is there anything like that? But you know, as we discussed last month, it was $25,000 to $30,000, unless that number has changed.
If that's no carnival.
That's it, yeah, if that's no carnival. And I think one of the other things, at least that I'm hearing from both organizations, is that there really isn't a middle ground past where they're at from a vendor standpoint. It's no carnival, or it's kind of these proposals. There's no reduction that they can do and still get any vendor to come at all. With that, that's the way that I'm hearing them presenting.
So there's no happy medium if we say, look, we don't want rides that fly up in the air or hang on strings and that are going to attract. So the carnival vendor is saying it's our way or the highway.
No, those words, it's our way or the highway, were never said by our carnival company. No.
So if we want some bumper cars, maybe a Ferris wheel, some duck ponds, and a few things sprinkled out to entertain that middle-age, younger kids to maybe 12, 13 years old in rides, they're still willing to do that.
For 2026, specifically and exclusively, I will say that they are committed to being in Lee Summit in June. I think that the recommendation is to have them present a list of rides that they would request to set up and sell tickets to, and that list of rides could be vetted and certain rides could be approved, and some that you're talking about that spin up and down or that are more thrill rides could not be approved to be set up. So we could have a plan where only the rides that are approved would be allowed for 2026. And then I said, with that being said, though, if financially the impact for the Carnival company is like their profits are decreased to the point that they can't break even on what they've invested in terms of the insurance on their rides, the payment of their staff, all of that, then they, as any company would, I feel, look for a different community or organization to potentially partner with. So yes, the Carnival has to be profitable for any company that would want to do business in the city of Lee Summit. And they would have more insight into if there are certain rides that sell more tickets than others. So on that profitability standpoint, I think I could see any company having opinions about what rides they want to have set up and which ones they're more amenable to leaving down for the weekend, if that helps. So there's definitely a willingness to find that middle ground and have rides set up that we're all comfortable with, and to remove rides that we're not comfortable with, while also being mindful that if at the end of the festival this is not profitable to the extent they would need it to be, they may not return in 2027. I hope that has helped add clarity, and if not, I can add more information.
So if I'm not going to speak to my other colleagues for them, pardon me, what does something look like that's like a 12 and under that I think we heard Chief Forbes speak last time of the parental guidance? I don't think there's too many parents that are going to drop off their 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds and just let them roam free if we have those guidelines, and I'll stop talking and let them chime in. You know, those guidelines of like, hey, we want to narrow these rides down to this specific age group, as Chief mentioned last time, these unaccompanied minors and the parental actions and all the good stuff we talked about last time. What do those rides look like? Because they're definitely not too crazy. They can't be too crazy of rides.
Right. So the document that I showed, this is not an exhaustive list. This is 17 rides that I have in this packet that I'm showing you. That is not an exhaustive list of every ride that is in the fleet for Evans United Shows. There are more rides that they travel with that are not pictured here. So already they've used their discretion to edit and remove certain rides from this document that, for instance, they have a ride called the Freak Out, which is definitely one that is geared towards older kids. You could not be 5 years old and ride that by yourself. So these rides that we see here, I would consider them family friendly. We're getting a little bit into a subjective point of view, though. You could review a Ferris wheel. Two of you may think that's family friendly and that's acceptable and we should have that, and two may consider that something that you wouldn't want to see. So there's some subjectivity here. So that's worth discussing and considering what those parameters would need to be as we evaluate. And yeah, there's, like I said, there's additional rides in their fleet that aren't pictured. So these would be the most appealing, I think, to a younger group of children, a younger age group.
So did you guys, I know Chief's hiding back there and dressed up in his nice suit today. Did you guys, was there some good consensus with the police department with separating all of the food and music and everything at one end and the carnival at the other? I mean, was there some strategy behind that? Like, are the parents dropping their kids off at the carnival and they're gonna go hang out and listen to music and there's a bunch of unaccompanied people up there? I guess, was that some good communication with the police department on that move?
So the move is not necessarily strictly influenced by LSPD. No, that is something that we have wanted to do and that we now have the opportunity to do now that the construction at Green Street is complete and we have this beautiful facility that we are hoping to have access to use for our festival. What I shared about why I think that's beneficial to separate those anchor points, that's coming from me specifically as an events director. I'm not saying I'm not quoting the chief of police when I say that. Secondly, I think any issues that we've had with parents dropping off their kids and leaving them unattended, I think that is a continual issue that we will confront. So I'm not saying there's just one specific point that anyone's dropping off kids. No, I'm just thinking that the benefit of separating those anchor points is, in a way, you have people who come to the festival who want to go ride carnival rides, you go to the west side. If you want to watch live music, grab a beverage, a funnel cake, come to the east side, come to Green Street, and allowing for there to be some more kid-friendly experiences on the west and some more attractions for people 21 and up on the east. That's my perspective as being a beneficial thing for the festival for this year.
I definitely don't, I want you to understand, I definitely don't want to do away with the carnival. That's not my objective. I'm not going to speak for my other colleagues. My question to you was, did you sit down and talk to the police department about separating these things?
So we will be continuing to talk with LSPD. So I don't have feedback on this proposal, this 2026 map. I don't have specific points of feedback from LSPD to give you tonight. But when we submit a special event permit and we go through this process, that is what we would like to propose to do.
I think for the sake of these conversations and where I know you guys are up against time, and again, I'll repeat myself, I'm not against doing away with the carnival. We've heard from the police department and we've heard these things about unaccompanied minors and how do we narrow this down, and we know there's this specific age. We're not trying to do away with a carnival vendor that we all love. I just think you're in a bubble. We've got the police department telling us we've got an issue with unaccompanied minors. Making a whole new plan, I think, needs to be a collaboration of everyone, not you coming up with an idea and saying, well, we're going to apply for a special use permit, and the PD says, well, we don't like this.
Chair, if I may add just a few comments on this. Throughout this whole process, I will say up until like this very last bit here, there's been a lot of collaboration, and there's been collaboration on this piece as well. Chief Forbes has seen the layout, albeit I think just today. Maybe last night he was able to see the layout and take a look at it, but we've been having a lot of conversations about this overall. So I don't want to give the impression that there is not any collaboration occurring between the entities at all, because that's not the case at all on this. Now, I will say, are the layout things finalized? No, they're not finalized right now. They're suggestions. It's a bit of a, again, iterative process back and forth. Time crunch on things is causing some of that challenge, but I would say that there is collaboration that is occurring and has occurred, and I think Chief Forbes would be happy to give you his preliminary thoughts on that. But until we have a formal, until we have the actual proposal and there's some direction on some of these things overall, it's difficult to enter into that formal process, if you will. So it's more back and forth, idea here, idea there, to get to that formal process, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. I 100% agree. Thanks for adding that. Yeah, this is, and there's no effort on my part to spring any new information. This is a lot of this feels like chicken or the egg. It's like, we have to submit a plan, it's gotta get reviewed, it will get revised. There will be certain things that we might ask to do that we are told, no, we can't do that. We don't know until we ask. So this has been a long, like, several years back and forth process with city staff and LSPD.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I actually appreciate everything you suggested. I feel like it's a very thoughtful compromise. I also, will they have access to Green Street? They said if they do. Do you know, have you guys
Yeah,
decided?
for the festival, yes, yeah. It's
Okay.
already on the calendar and been
Okay.
part of it the whole time.
Okay, perfect. I really like everything you proposed. I do think we do have a lot of things to work out. Like, I do think it's important we have specific language in the ordinance, like maybe no upside down rides, you know, the ring of fire, and then the ones that a lot of older kids are attracted to. Maybe something like that, loose language in the ordinance, but not necessarily super restrictive of some of these rides, like you said. It's all based on opinion on really what we think a 12-year-old, I mean, I know I have one daughter that was 12 that never would have even gone on these dinosaurs because they would have been scary, and then I have a 6-year-old that'll go on pretty much everything. So, but yeah, no, I really appreciate everything that you proposed. I feel like it's a good compromise. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Trapton, did you have anything?
I don't want to be repetitive, but Julie, what a wonderful presentation you did. I'm super impressed with your ability to walk us through that thoughtful presentation. And I do agree that it's a very nice compromise to be able to move forward with. And I know you guys are on a tight timeline. And I don't think we should get rid of the carnival. I think we should try to figure out how to make it work. And I think there's other aspects to that, but I do believe you guys are doing the due diligence that's necessary to make it better. So I appreciate all that. I think all the things you listed are going to help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions you wanted answered?
So, Ryan, we wouldn't write a specific ordinance for this at all, would we? It would just be, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, so we have options there. I think our recommendation from staff's perspective right now is given some of the difficulty of having an unintentional consequence of limiting the rides too much to where we accidentally limit a ride that we want and allow a ride that we don't want. It just seems to us that having the collaborative approach and handling it through the special event process makes the most sense to us. And that allows staff and the event organizers to collaborate, given the direction and the vision that's been cast by the committee, to be able to work through that process administratively. Now, if there's another check that we wanted to put in place or come back and say, hey, we wanted to do a final review of this ride selection to make sure everybody's good, but this is what, everybody on staff and the event organizers have agreed to that we believe meets the goal of having a carnival that is directed and focused on a younger demographic, essentially there. But that being said, we could also put an ordinance in place that provides maybe some additional authority and discretion in there, but it's really hard to get specific with this particular item because it can change a lot as well. I think having a clear vision and intent, which I feel that we have, is the big thing.
I wouldn't want to restrict them to an ordinance if there was maybe a better option that pops up for a ride substitute or something like that. If it's just something we could clarify in a special use permit that the carnival vendor says, hey, this is a better idea than this, and we've already crafted an ordinance. And I think if we left it specifically to a special use permit outline would be better.
Just point of clarification, special event permit.
Special event, sorry.
Big differences in language in that one word from our perspective.
Sure. No, I get it. I guess, Chief, anything you want to add? I mean, we don't want to do away with this carnival. We want to compromise. I just want to make sure we're all working together and we're trying to satisfy the PD's needs as well as everybody else involved.
Yes, Chair, members of the committee, Travis Forbes, Chief of Police. Yeah, and I know, I believe the Chamber's going to speak too, if I'm not mistaken, so I can say more after that as well. But I had not seen this actual presentation. I only got one attachment yesterday. I did see the Chamber's presentation, so the layout, I really can't comment on that. I think the process we have with the permit is good to get kind of that perspective from various departments, not just the police department, but the fire department and others who work for the city. So I think it should go through that process as far as taking a look at traffic and pedestrian traffic and that. So I really can't comment on that. Thinking about what those folks go through in evaluating special event permits, I'm not sure they want to get into the business of judging rides. I don't know if that's anyone in the city's expertise about, will this attract unattended youth? If it's I do think the original idea was to try to gear the rides toward what I said last time. Yeah, we don't typically have the problems with very small children at these festivals, unattended teens or young adults that tend to cause the issues. So that's why the idea was to gear the rides toward that age group. But I think it might be difficult for us to look at, and not many of us know much about a jumping Dumbo and whether that would cause problems or not. So that might be a little tricky for us. I'm not saying we should have an ordinance or something that's more black and white. It just, I can see this, I think of many of these issues that we're going to attempt, and I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that we have the organizers and the vendors both thinking about safety, because we've seen some issues that are very concerning to us, and we brought them to the attention of this group and others. And now folks are thinking in that direction heavily, and that's good. I think some of these issues we may have to give it a shot and see, but I'm not sure. Well, this ride this year we seem to have a lot of problems with. I'm not sure we can blame it on a particular ride. And then next year we'll just swap out for a different ride, and we spend 7 years trying to figure out the exact ride mix. So I think this is good in some respects, but I just worry about the purpose of our folks who evaluate the permits to get into this granular detail and make those decisions. Sure. But does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think we're headed in the right direction. We may just have to try some of these things and see how they work, and see if we can quantify what works and what doesn't.
Thanks, Chief.
But I will say real quick that we have had a very good working relationship with both the Chamber and Downtown Lee Summit. They definitely don't work in a vacuum with these things, and they do care about safety. It's just, I think, it's good to see us all kind of spinning our wheels about how to improve safety even more.
Before you walk away,
Yes.
I just had one question. So I know you didn't have a lot of time to look at them, but just in general, when things are more spread out and there's not so much people clumped together, like kind of how it is now. So with their plan, with it being more spread out and having, Carnival separated from alcohol and that, I'm just getting your opinion
Very,
without
very
having
general.
evaluated it.
Yeah, 70,000 foot, very, very
Yeah.
general. Just looking at it real quick, that's the positive. I do think in some ways it's better to spread out the crowds. The negative is some of that adult reinforcement and oversight could be lost, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. A couple different things there, so we may have some gains in one respect and some losses in another, because I think a big part of this is adult oversight of youth who need that oversight, so that's, I don't know if that would cause like I think may have been said, the parents are enjoying their time over here at Green Street, the kids are over at the Carnival area unattended. That kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, but again, it may be maybe something we try to see what happens,
Trial
to
and
see
error.
if that happens. Yeah.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I do I think this was a great presentation. So just so I'm clear, when you said the festival close time being 9 as the proposal, you mean like everything downtown? Like all vendors, carnival, food, music, everything?
That was my proposal to share with this group, and that's what I'm prepared to put in a special event permit application.
Okay.
Because when the suggestion came up to close carnival rides at 7, some feedback we got was, well, we want music and beer sales and food sales to go till 10. I would have some concerns that that's too much of a discrepancy, that if we can meet in a compromise where we can have a consistent closure time across the board for the festival, I think that would be beneficial, in my opinion, exclusively, because I think it just allows for everyone to move out. Go to the businesses, head home, get a ride to get your parents or your ride to pick you up. If this is based on my experience of 2025 of having rides shut down at 9:30, but the event still go till 10, and I know that was only 30 minutes difference, but I wasn't necessarily convinced that, this is the way forward. We close the carnival early, the rest of the event stays later, we're gonna have no problems. So this was one option that I figured could be a compromise. You close everything at 9. The sun sets at 8:50 p.m. in June. So sun setting, band strikes their last note at 9, we close the beer tents, and the festival is over for the night. And then we would be dispersing the crowds in that civil twilight as opposed to 10:30 p.m. after dark.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that because in the summer, I think it's a good compromise.
That's what I'm saying.
I think look, one of our big things I think up here, we were all saying last month that we wanted is, it'd be nice if it could kind of start closing down as it's getting dark. And so I feel like that does meet that. And I think you said ticket sales end at 8:30, so that way they can get in the last rides and then sun's down and hopefully out of there. So I think that I'm great with that. So I think that was a great compromise on that. I know it's different with different seasons. So
exactly.
So I think that's great.
Yeah. And with that being said, with the different seasons, that's something that I mentioned we would be willing to do for downtown days. Oktoberfest, there's no expectation, in my opinion, that a full event closure at 9 is something that the city would have to mandate. That's something I'm saying that as the organizer for this festival, I would be willing to make that change if LSPD feels that would be agreeable. City council, city staff, if that's a path forward we want to try, I'm on board with that. If you prefer a staggered closure where a carnival ends earlier, then vocalize that so that we know. But this is what I would consider to be a better option.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan to start with. We're reining things in, and we don't want to be too dramatic with this first. So I think it's a good way to start here, see how it goes, and then if we do have to do staggered next year because of issues, then we can deal with that. But otherwise, I think it's a good starting point.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right. So with the chamber, we've got Megan Gray.
All right, good evening. Megan Gray with the Chamber. I feel like so much good conversation has already happened, so you may see me skip through a slide or just go over it briefly because some of it Julie's already said, some of it's been discussed outside of the presentation. I did want to comment on a couple of the questions, though, that were brought up. Donnie, I know that you asked the financial impact of the festival if we were not to have a carnival. And I think you haven't gotten a solid number because it's a very difficult number to come up with because we know the check that they write to us, but we don't know the impact of what it does to our brought tent one. When the families come in and then the kids leave the carnival ride and now they're hungry, they want a hot dog and they want a candy bar and dad wants a beer, whatever it may be, we can't come up with a number for that at this point. But we know that that will impact that sale there, and those sales happen all day long. That's why we strategically place our brought tent one by the carnival. And it is by far our busiest brought tent that we have. So that's probably the real reason why you haven't gotten a solid number, because it is an unknown. We know it starts at about 24 to 25,000, and I mean, it could go upwards of 50,000 on the impact. It could be 40. We don't know what that burden looks like. And if it becomes so high like that, then it does become a difficult situation for the chamber and our bottom line, and trying to make sure we're doing all the programming that our business community needs. So it's a hard question to answer. And I just want to circle back and give that feedback to you on that.
Sure, no, I appreciate that. And if there is, maybe this next year, both Downtown Days and Oktoberfest, we look at those numbers and understand a little bit. In the event something should happen, and we have to do away with this, and we say, hey, if this body says no more carnival, I think there's an impact to both organizations that we should be able to help stabilize that if we're asking you to do something.
Absolutely. The other question that came up was, has there been conversation with the police department? I know that's been addressed, but we feel like we have a great working relationship with the police department. They have not seen our specific proposals today yet, just because of the time crunch with the holidays and everything. But I know that our police department comes to every single one of our Oktoberfest meetings. We do one-on-one meetings where they come to my office or I'll go to them. We talk about safety regularly. So those lines of communication are definitely there. And safety is at the front of the line in everything that we do, and we enjoy our police department and we appreciate all the work that they put into it. So this specific presentation I'm getting ready to give has not been discussed with the police department, but there's been numerous conversations in the past, and we're always working towards the same thing, which is public safety. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to jump into my presentation here. Ryan told me where it was at. There it is. Oh, actually, I did have one more comment. Julie talked about spreading out her festival, and in hopes that not having so many people in one specific area would be beneficial for them. We have had the opportunity and the luxury to use Green Street, and I don't know if this is a direct impact of being able to spread out, but we did see a reduction in service calls by almost 30%. And so that could be a good indicator for Downtown Days that, when I say a reduction in service calls, I mean from 2024 to 2025. It was almost 30% less calls that we received. So that could be a good indicator for Downtown Days and Julie's logistical plan and being more successful and adding more air to the festival. With that, we'd also, like she showed, be able to hope to use Green Street and 3rd Street and just really expand the festival that way to continue to have space for people to roam around without feeling congested. I think that was all of my notes for the questions that were asked at this time. So I'm going to jump into our presentation here. I think Julie established pretty well that some of the parameters that were laid out before us were difficult to come to a solid plan with our carnival purveyor, and I want to take the time to really focus on alternate options before we mess with our carnival too much and take away carnival rides. I'm a big believer that the carnival is a huge portion of what Oktoberfest is. They've been with us for 25 years. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to jump over here. Our carnival, Evans Midland, has been a part of our festival for 25 years. It's family ran. They started out, Andrew specifically, as a child, would come down and work with his mom and dad at the carnival in Lee Summit, and then he'd come back as an adult, and now he's running their operation here. And I think it's important to know a little bit about our carnival purveyor and know that they are vested into our community. They are a local business. They are a local family. They live outside of Lee Summit in Leawood, though. And so he is always quick to respond. He's over here. He's come to every one of our meetings that we've asked him to. They're back here tonight with us. I think it's also important to know that He serves on the Missouri State Safety Board for Amusement Rides. This board is under the Missouri Division of Fire Safety, and they work towards the laws and regulations of amusement rides for the state. I think that's really big for you guys to know, because I think that shows how dedicated he is to making sure that things are running safely, both operationally and also in the surrounding areas. He serves on that board with other key players in the industry, Six Flags, Silver Dollar City, and Worlds of Fun. I wanted to share that because I want you guys to really know him and his family the way that I do, and know that it's not just a business, it's a family-ran operation, and they are important and they are integral to Oktoberfest. So though they may not be able to adjust their rides as much as what was presented to us, we have sat down and come up with alternate options, and we really want to impact on the change the environment and the atmosphere of the festival itself versus changing the rides. So I'm going to go over that in just a minute. The slide I skipped was talking about my carnival research. Julie touched on that. Collectively, I called 10 personally. I know Julie called a handful as well. We just simply could not find a carnival that would fit within the parameters of what we're looking for that was proposed. So like Julie did, I'm going to go over a couple of things that we've done in the past that has been successful for us. Over the past 5 years, we've left 4 feet of space between every tent throughout the festival. This allows easy access points for people to get on and off the main street. Families can exit if they feel uncomfortable. They can get to the sidewalks. This also allows access to our businesses and their front doors, and we like having that partnership with them. And we feel like that's been great success. Festival goers aren't trapped to follow the same path if they don't want to. They can come in and create their own path as they wish. We have added additional lighting to our festival. We add more lighting each year over year. We started festival lighting 2 years ago. Last year we had 6 spots that we rented the big flood lamps that are like construction style lighting. We plan to do that again. If we feel like it would be beneficial, we're happy to add even more additional lighting in areas to make sure that there is plenty of light. We close, or in the fall, sun goes down earlier, so we have more dark spots. So we're happy to figure out how to light those. Let's see here. In the past, we've also had Titan Security. This is their 2nd year with us. We plan to continue to use them moving forward. Some of the recommendations that I'm getting ready to give are going to probably require additional security because we definitely know that our police department is maxed out on hours and manpower, and we really want to lean on having a proactive response to some of these uncomfortable situations that we're experiencing. We'd really rather not wait for something to happen and then jump on it. We want to implement a couple different policies that say, if we even think you're going to do this, you're gone. And we're going to need the manpower to help us do that. Let's see here. We also have the command station that I think we can maybe utilize even better than last year. Last year we were still trying to figure out how to use it and what that looks like. I know that there's a speaker on it, and we didn't have the opportunity to use that last year. Maybe this is a great opportunity to put it right in the center of where the problem is and use that speaker and tell the kids to keep moving. This is a no loitering zone. You're not allowed to stand in large groups. Go somewhere else. If you're not riding the rides, move on. This is not a place to stand and just wait for something to happen. I think if we communicate some of those things like that, then we might be even further ahead in this action plan. So, Festival Code of Conduct, I would like to see us put this out on all of our social media, on our website, at every entrance that we have to the festival. I see this being a key part of what changes we want to make. We want to make sure that it is known that we are not going to accept fighting, whether it be play fighting, real fighting, just shoving or pushing. You know, as 12, 13-year-olds, they think it's real funny to pretend they're going to fight somebody. Well, an onlooker might not realize that they're just playing. We just don't want that to be a part of our festival. We want absolutely no running in the crowded areas. In non-crowded areas, running is not allowed at the festival. I personally maybe got onto some 10, 11-year-olds last year that were running through areas, and I turned to them and I told them there is absolutely no running at this festival in the best mom voice that I had, and they stopped. So sometimes these students and these kids that are coming down, they just need a little bit of parenting with them, and they need to have these rules in front of them, and they need to feel like they have eyes on them, and I think that can make a big difference. A couple other things on here that need to be pointed out. We would like to make it known that we don't want face coverings or masks at the festival. Obviously, if it's medical or religious, that's a completely different situation. But if they're just wearing them to wear them, that automatically kind of makes people feel uncomfortable. So we don't want that allowed. Some of these things, like I said, are areas where we're going to need additional help from Titan Security or the Lee Summit Police Department to help us patrol these things. Then the loitering. The loitering is the absolute biggest problem that we have, where they just want to congregate in large groups. My personal opinion, I know that the carnival's been said to be the attractor for it, but the carnival is not the problem. They're not standing in lines, waiting to ride the rides, causing the problems, pulling their phones out, fighting the fights. They're actually outside of the carnival. They are on the perimeters of the carnival by the train track. And so I think it's unfair to blame the carnival entirely and try and make regulations that are very difficult for them. So I certainly don't want to see the carnival go away. So I'd rather see us make these environmental changes and try and work towards changing the atmosphere of the festival before we take extreme cases such as reducing rides or changing rides. We will make a couple adjustments that I'll talk about in a minute, but I think most important, it's the environmental side that needs to be worked on. We would also like to implement a minor curfew. After 7 p.m., minors under the age of 17 must be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. We would allow 1 chaperone to 3 teens. And to be considered a chaperone, you must be at least 25 years of age or older. I realize, again, this is a little bit difficult to implement, but if we can have this out publicized before people even get here, you will deter some of the crowd. Some of the parents will say, you know what, I'm not going with you, so you're not going either. Those kids probably aren't the problem kids, but maybe we keep those kids safe by not coming down, or we reduce the crowds by those kids not coming to the festival because they aren't of the appropriate age. So I think it's a good idea to at least try. And then also make it known that we have a zero tolerance policy. If you are creating panic or hysteria, you are going to ask you to leave. If you're doing anything that we feel is uncomfortable, you're gone. We don't want you to run. We don't want you to wear face masks. If you have a backpack on, take it home. So we just want to make sure that it's known that we're not going to just let things happen. We want to be proactive. Okay. I worked with Andrew. We sat down with a meeting, and he had some great recommendations on adjustments that we could make to the carnival. One of the biggest adjustments that I feel like we were going to make is layout changes. So right here on this screen, you'll see that there are, I'm going to call them 2 white rectangles for ease of explanation. Those are their food trucks there. We plan to move those food trucks down the road on Southwest Main, closer to 4th Street, so then we can open up that space and put a ride there. A larger ride will take up more of that space, so you won't have as much of the road available for the teens to congregate. With that, he also said he was going to strategically choose the noisiest ride he has. The noisiest ride that will fit in that spot. And that way, you won't want to stand there because there will be a screeching or some type of noise that will just not be a favorable spot to be. So I think that's a huge adjustment that we can do to fill in that space. He did say he was going to be mindful of, the train track. We have to leave so many feet between that to make sure that's safe, the line's going in the right direction, and still having good walkway access. But the point is to block a big chunk of that space there so we don't just have all of this congregating of the teens. Another thing that he's going to do is on this Ferris wheel that you can kind of barely see in that picture, he's going to get a speaker for it, and he's going to allow us to connect a microphone to it and be able to make festival announcements. Those little reminders of like, keep moving, or if you're not standing in line, if you don't have tickets, you don't belong in this area, or whatever that may be, that will be up to us and what the police department thinks maybe we should be saying these things so that there's a constant reminder that you are being watched. And you're not just here to try and capture a video. We are trying to control the crowd. Another huge change that we would propose to make would be in this area here on this picture. You can see an orange outline, looks like a rectangle. That is our biggest problem area. There are hundreds of kids that just stand there and they wait for something to happen, and they poke at each other and they stress each other out. And we would like to reduce that. We would like to actually take that space and make it non-usable. We plan to put a construction style fencing that's 6 to 8 foot tall. I can look into what seems appropriate or get recommendations from the police department and build that out all the way across the road up to the train track as close as we deem safe, and force all festival goers to use the sidewalks that are there. The sidewalks are there for a reason, so we might as well capitalize on their purpose. So that will essentially create two walkways into the festival. We won't necessarily mandate one way or another. This is the way in, this is the way out. We could potentially, if we think it would be good, or the sidewalks might be large enough that it will accommodate both. Sometimes crowds naturally just make those decisions on their own. The other biggest change that we have to this area is moving the command station right there. Putting them right in the heart of this area where our problem is, where the students want to hang out and be and cause drama, for lack of a better word. We want to put them there so that way their police presence is known. We want the kids to see them. We want the police department to be seen. We want them to be able to use their speaker to know what's going on completely around them. And if you're standing right in front of a police command station, maybe that's not as much fun to cause trouble in, because now they can see me very easily, and I'm an easy target to get myself in real trouble. And so by having that there, I think it will just deter the kids from trying to create. I have not shown this to the police department, so I'm not 100% sure that this makes sense for the use of their command station. In my mind, though, it made good use. So this is definitely up to the discretion of the police department, but it is an idea that's worth pursuing. Even if they can't put their command station right there, we're still more than happy to block that fencing off and make sure we have the lighting in there so it's properly lit and still create those lines of flow.
Where is the command station currently?
Oh, great question. So if you're looking at the picture, do you see where those two little white square tents are? That's where we place them. So it's not a huge shift, but it puts them right in the heart of the problem. And I think that can be huge. Right now they're close to it, but they're also far enough away where they're sort of out of sight, out of mind. You have to know that they're there to feel their presence. Do you have any other questions on this pitched layout?
Would that pose any sort of like fire code, like too congested, just having the two sidewalks open? Or is that something that you guys would discuss like when they submitted the official?
We'd verify that during the review process.
Okay, thank you.
We could also shrink the fence down, like if we need to. If we need to create, a 6 foot path off of the sidewalk area on either side, so we have sidewalk plus 6 feet, then we just build that fence to that perimeter. So we can kind of customize that. The idea is to take up as much space as we can without causing a bigger hindrance. That way they just don't have anywhere to stand. Okay, additional carnival adjustments that we are proposing here is our time adjustment. Last year, we were actually able to keep our carnival going longer than previous years because the evening was going so great on Friday that we worked with the police department. I said, hey, can we go an extra 30 minutes? They said, actually, we can. That's not a problem tonight. And we appreciated that. But we realized that adjustments need to be made, and so this is our proposed time adjustment. We are looking at stopping wristband sales at 8 o'clock, stopping ticket sales at 8:30, and then a full carnival shutdown at 9 p.m. The other big adjustment that we're proposing is getting rid of the Ring of Fire. That is probably the highest thrill ride that our carnival offers. It does go upside down in a loop. I will say we'll disappoint a few people, but if it keeps us safer, then it's probably a change worth having. And we would replace it with a mirror maze. This is not an exact picture. The ride or the maze is on order, but we didn't have a picture of it today to share. So with that, our Carnival ride selection, we really feel like these rides here, 9 of the rides, which is the majority of our Carnival rides, really focus on that 5 to 7-year-old demographic that I do believe are after. There are 2 additional rides here that are not pictured, and that's the elephant ride and that mirror maze that you saw on a similar mirror maze as you saw on the previous slide. But these are what we are proposing. I will say that our Carnival provider does not have as many rides as Downtown Days Carnival provider. So these are what we are proposing, and these are what we need to have to be able to invite our Carnival to come back and have a profitable festival for both of us. So these ones we all deem are appropriate and safe, and we like these. These are the ones that are in question right now. We do want to offer all of these rides at our Carnival. And looking at some of the restrictions that were proposed, it was saying 48 inches is kind of the max. However, the average height of a 12-year-old is 58 to 62 inches. And if we are really trying to gear something towards 12 and under, all of these rides fit within the science behind it. These are family friendly. I've talked to Andrew, and he says we do call these family friendly because you'll see a lot of kids on them with the adults. You see people riding them. I personally don't want to cut out an entire demographic of our community because there are so many families that have high schoolers and middle schoolers, and they do come down and they spend the afternoon down there and they ride rides together, and they just genuinely have a good time together. And if we take these away, we're really only serving the young families that have 5 to 7-year-olds, and I don't think that's fair. I also don't think that's a great picture for our community, saying, hey, we only want the young families down here. We want to make sure everybody feels included, and so we would like to keep these rides. That is nearly the end of our information. I do just want that subtle reminder that families do come down all day long. The biggest problem that we have is about an hour between that 8 and 9 where we start to see families go home and the kids come down. However, we are still operating in full swing. We're still selling Carnival rides, and they're still riding them, and the tickets, and we're still selling beer and brats and all those things. So I'm not saying that at 8 o'clock is where we have problems. You just start to see a small shift in that area that we're trying to address. The rest of the festival is incredibly family friendly, and I hate to see us rewrite something for 1 hour of the entire festival 2 times a week, or two times, so 2 full hours. I do think it's important to note that the families that are coming down, they are creating those core memories together, and I think that Lee Summit is very family friendly, and we want to be able to offer those memories, and we want people to come down and feel like Lee Summit, really, my community gives me something great to do. And I think that the Carnival is one of those great things to do. So, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Councilor Pryor has a few questions for you.
Yeah.
What time did you say that it currently ends?
Last year we did the rides until 9:30, and then our festival stays open until 10.
Okay, and so under this, it would stop wristbands at 8, tickets at 8:30, and then rides completely at 9?
Yes.
And then the festival would still stay open until 10?
We could look into some options. I would like to see it stay open. I am open to it closing earlier if that's what allows us to have the Carnival. I would also like to propose the idea of we have this beautiful Green Street space now, and I think we have a prime opportunity to, after 9 o'clock, we make it a 21 and over type of situation. I think that that's something that we could be easily mandated. We could figure that out through wristbands. There's doors, we can close them. So we have wiggle room and options to look into. I'm hesitant to say with definity right now that I fully commit to everything closes at 9 because I'd like to look into that 21 and over. But I really would like to have the Carnival. So definitely open to recommendations and options.
I think, again, I think this is a good compromise. I really like, if you're going to do the rides, the unaccompanied minors, I think that's a good addition. I do think that communicating the rules up front, I think that's also a really good addition. I like this. I don't see an issue with a lot of these unless of course the police department has a different perspective, but I like a lot of what you proposed.
Thank you.
I guess one thing, oh, Chief Forbes is coming up. No, I don't remember. Yeah, go ahead.
And you may have, oh, you're fine. You may have more questions too, but no, again, I think this is moving the needle. We can't really quantify how much the needle moves, and we may have to try some of these things and see how they work. I will point out a couple real quick things. One, to make Mr. Rucker, our legal folks, happy. Yeah, wake up, Ed. As far as enforcing rules, that's really not something the police department can do. We enforce the law. So a rule enforcement from Titan Security could turn into a legal violation. There could be disorderly conduct, or trespassing is a little tricky because this is a public area. But police departments can get into some trouble by just trying to enforce rules, if that makes sense. So.
Did you say that Titan Security could potentially
Titan
help with that,
could.
though?
So security is just a different matter entirely. And I do think the rules are great. I think we should have those posted everywhere, because even the subtle suggestion that, this isn't allowed here, well, as you said, will work for some folks. It's just the police department can't really be relied on to be rule setters. Even disruptions in the council chambers, we're not necessarily addressing the rules of the council chambers, we're addressing legal violations. So I know we've had some discussions about that recently. But the command post, we don't currently have one. So we kind of use the vehicle that we have as one, but it's not ideal. If you even look at it, it's a little bit subdued. And I hope I'm saying this correctly, because I do want to buy a command post at some point in time. It'll be in your face. This is the police department command post, splattered with LSPD paraphernalia, so you can tell. The one that we currently have is more of a technology platform, so our drones operate out of it. A lot of our cameras feed. It's very impressive. It's not really good for having officers deploy out of it, or I've sat the thing. You can't get too many people in it. It's a little tight. It's great for what it is, but I think it's a good idea. I'm just not sure we have the equipment to. A police car would probably be a better option, because everybody kind of knows what that is. But and it feeds into that idea of supervision, which we've stressed. So again, I think we're.
Officers on bikes too could be an option,
bikes. Yeah,
then
certainly.
They can kind of zip around and they have the lights and the sounds. And
You bet, you bet. Yeah, so all of that helps. So I think I'm not trying to say that these are bad ideas. I'm just saying, just want to make sure expectations are in the right place. We're moving the needle. And I think, combining some of the ideas that we've heard from both groups will move the needle. How much? We don't know, and we may have to try some things and see how it plays out and make some further adjustments in the future. If it doesn't move it much at all, we'll have to kind of regroup and talk. But we, just like with Downtown Lee Summit, we have a great relationship with the chamber, and more than open to having those discussions. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really like the idea of a police car right there where the command post. I think that would be a good visible option. So until you guys get your command post, I think that would be.
We paid a lot for that vehicle, so I cringe that it might get damaged too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you mean any vehicle? You pay a lot for all the vehicles?
No, that specific
the specific
vehicle,
one.
It's a little pricey vehicle.
But you could have. Any vehicle would be super visible.
Yes, I agree.
Right there.
Maybe even a fire truck.
Oh, there you go.
And then with I actually don't remember. I had another question and I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, come back. Thanks.
Councilmember Funk had some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Wow, thank you. That was well put together. I definitely don't want to sound like a jerk, but I would love for you to share your ideas of Titan security, under 21, all of those type of rules with downtown Main Street to be able to collaborate that. I would start to get more on board with the carnival rides if we have the security measures in place, that if there's 3 or 4 kids walking around without an adult, Titan security, Chief took my question. That's not something our police department's going to be able to do because those are rules and not laws.
Right.
So
We actually did have a meeting with Downtown Days, and Julie and Donnie were both very on board with the recommendations that I kind of proposed, and we sat and chatted with them, and I don't believe I'm wrong in saying that they are fully on board for adopting some of those safety features. Is that, yeah.
I think
Julie gave me a thumbs up there.
that is
Yeah.
that is
Double thumbs up.
an amazing idea if we can provide the manpower through Titan. I don't know if that's a conversation about how much that costs, but I think that's great. I mean, if we can control, as the original conversation stated, the unaccompanied minors, I mean, I think we could have a successful Downtown Days. I think we can have a successful Oktoberfest. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I mean, perfect. And we enforce it. If we have the right group that we can enforce it and keep those rules in mind, I would be on board of kind of what's been proposed for rides. I still get a little nervous of the upside down and spinning around stuff. And I mean,
We'll take out
I'm
the
not going to
upside
get
down.
on. I'm too scared of them anyway. But I just think that brings what we're concerned about.
Yeah.
You know, and we want everybody to have fun. We even want that age bracket to have fun. But when the crowds start churning and things start happening, that's when the risky behavior comes in play.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Megan, you did an amazing job with that. I appreciate both of the efforts that you guys are putting into really trying to strategize for a better festival and be able to serve all the constituents. I love how you're trying to still meet the needs of the tweeners and the young teenagers. I do love all of the strategies. I love what Chief Forbes is adding to the conversation. I think that command center, I love that idea. I think that's super. I think that will be a big deterrent. I think if you put a fire truck there, it probably would attract more young kids and actually move the older ones away from there. I don't know that the fire department would want to do that, but I mean, I like the idea, Chief Forbes. So, and I love the idea of how we're running these experiments to see like what can move the needle. And so these are experiments to hopefully reduce show of force, reduce any incidents. I love the signage around the rules as well, and I love the beefing up the Titan security initiatives, and I would even say visibility for them too would be helpful. I think all those things are gonna help create a better atmosphere. I'll just say I don't want to see the festivals have to necessarily close earlier either, because I think we're trying to meet multiple constituents, and I think there's still a need and a desire to have adults being able to have their fun as well, and enjoy the festival when we know the kids and the families are going to be moving out at 9. I do like the idea of moving. So I agree with all the things that are being discussed. I did have just one thought about, I meant to say this while you were talking, I didn't want to interrupt you, but on the rules, when you have weapon replica, it might be nice, you have like examples of other things that's acceptable. It might be nice to actually mention airsoft guns and Nerf guns and water guns, because those are all things that kind of look like weapons. And I know in my own neighborhood, I've had incidents with kiddos having those airsoft guns, and the orange thing being blacked out, I mean, that would easily be mistaken for a real gun, and I know it has happened. And so that's been a concern that we've talked about with kiddos trying to have fun with those things. But also, so just a suggestion, but I love the idea of having the visibility of this, because it really is a deterrent to say, listen, we're not going to tolerate this bad behavior. So come on. So thank you for your effort. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I would agree with most of what's being said. I do like the idea of kind of combining some of what Downtown Lee Summit and you guys, I think you guys both came up with really great ideas. I think collaborating between those sets of ideas would make something really great. Like for instance, I do like the idea of everything closing at 9. I do feel like that would be more cohesive and easier, but very flexible in that. The private security, I would like both to do that too, so I like that you guys do that. And I think the flexibility comes from knowing that you have private security there. And then if they did that too, be like, okay, you know, just stay open later and we'll see how that goes, because we know you've got extra. They do as well. Do you guys do that? Because it wasn't mentioned. Okay. You do. Do you use the same?
Titan.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's good to know. And then I do like I know it's pending, but their plan of spreading it out more. And I know you'd mentioned Green Street, again, using that. So I love that idea of using Green Street, because it's just more spread out, and then maybe more adults will be over here who want to do more of the alcohol stuff and keep them separated from, you know, so I love that idea.
That's actually similar to the way our festival is set up now.
Okay.
So I should have put a map in there so you could see that, but we do. We have the carnival, we do have a brat tent, but then our beer garden, where our German meals and everything that happens down in Green Street. Our main stage is all the way down here at the corner of 3rd and Green Street. And so we try and capitalize on all the space in downtown to create the most air into our event.
Yeah, and then I did like how you mentioned as well the, you know, getting over a PA system, and I think it's just helpful, as long as it's loud enough to actually reach who we're trying to reach, to say, is a reminder of, like, you are being watched, you are, you know, like, just so that, because right now it's like, if we're not saying anything, they're like, no big deal, unless they're caught. So I think just friendly reminders of just, hey, FYI, I think that's a great idea. And I will say I was, you know, with you guys being close to October, end of September, I was skeptical until I read, because I was going to be like, well, you should probably close before sun comes down. But when I saw that you guys had put in the carnival rides accompanied by an adult, I think that would help peace of mind with that, so that way we're not cutting into your guys' carnival time. I feel more comfortable with that being after dark. But let me ask you, what is the accountability as far as making sure that's being enforced? Like, what do you guys have plans to make sure?
We'll have to work with the Titan Security to put together a plan. I mean, they patrol the high school games and everything.
Sure.
And so they are used to working with that high school demographic that we're trying to make sure is accompanied. So we'll work with them and figure out what the best options are. I currently don't know exactly what that looks like. I do know having more Titan security there. I would also like to place them at strategic areas that we know that their drop-offs at. So we know that down by Dairy Queen, they kind of unload and then they just walk their ways up. So if we had strategically placed them in that area to say, hey, where's your adult before you fully get out of this car? Or adult, are you coming in with them? I think that could help. And then we also know that at 4th and Southeast Main, that they also drop off there because they walk in behind our brat tent down there. And so if we strategically place those in Titan security officers in those areas that we know we see the influx of teenagers coming in, I think that's probably a huge step in the right direction.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, again, I just want to say I appreciate both presenters bringing in proactive ways, so that, because the goal was to be less reactive on things like, oh, well, let's just hope something doesn't happen, then we'll have to react. So I really appreciate you guys bringing proactive things of, like, you know, if we want to keep the rides, here's ways that we can help that. Or so anyway, I think it's a great job. So thank you for your guys' time putting those together and doing a wonderful job presenting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
just to kind of summarize everything here. In general, the committee is good with going forward this year with this set of recommendations, essentially that have been presented tonight, with some tweaks and modifications here as we continue to work with through the special event permit process and ensure that there's as much consistency as we can between the events, particularly in the areas of, I'll say, the social controls, as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, I think that's great. So I like how you mentioned just making sure, because I think I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like we were pretty in agreement as far as saying, like, we're really good across the board for applying both sets of so-called rules for both. So I feel like it's pretty fair. And did you catch that as well? Okay, because I'm like, I feel like it might be easy to just say, for this one, same for this one, expectation, and just
Yep.
Would that be easier? I feel like that's kind of where we were at. Would you guys agree?
I'm good with either.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference between the two proposals in there is obviously the ride selection because of the different availability associated with each one of the vendors. And so what I heard from everybody on the dais is that given the amount of other controls, as long as there's no upside down and, we've limited the rides, and I think the rides that they've shown in their presentation are the rides that they're planning on utilizing this year, that I think we're good to move forward, and that's the direction.
As long as the security is enforced and the rules that were outlined by the chambers, if there's 3 kids walking around with no adult, they need to be talking to.
Yep, getting implementation from Titan, and again, the enforcement of those social rules is kind of how I'll call those.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yep, thank you. All right, so do you guys have enough from us then? Like, is that enough to move this forward? For them, to help them to begin where they need to go for planning and, okay, I just want to make sure that this meeting is the meeting where they can take what they need and do what they need to do.
Yeah, I believe everybody at this point has the direction.
Okay.
And I think, given the conversations that we've had, there'll be after action reviews after each of the events. And so we can continue to learn from each event and make adjustments as needed.
Great. All right, thank you. So we don't need to move anything forward. It's a TMP though, so, okay. All right, perfect. Thank you guys again. I appreciate the time. All right, moving on to 5C, presentation of temporary certificate of occupancy for residential units. Ms. Albers.
Real quick, I'm just going to introduce our speaker this evening. This item was requested by Councilmember Carlisle to be placed on the agenda this evening. In short, staff's going to be providing an overview of our temporary certificate of occupancy process, including how we work with residential builders to transition a unit from TCO to CO, some of the issues that we've encountered over the last several months and how we've taken some steps to address them. So on that note, I'd like to invite Steve Robbins, who is our Assistant Director of Field Service, who's going to be making the staff presentation.
All right, hey, quick question. I know that you said that this is something Councilmember Carlisle really wasn't, and she actually texted me saying she's really bummed that she's going to miss out on it due to court. I hate to make you come back and have to spend another evening with us, but is there a way that we could present it, or is this something that needs to be done?
No, this is 100% at this point an informational presentation. So it's really up to your discretion as to when you would like us to bring this forward. At this point, we're not proposing any changes to the process or going to change our current process given different direction. So this is really kind of up to the committee as to when they would like us to have this conversation.
What do you guys think?
I mean, if
we can get, I was gonna say, well, I guess if we're not voting on anything, I just didn't want to do anything because I know Councilman Carlisle really wanted to be here for this. And
so you can watch it, I guess, later.
Yeah,
but
that's fine. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Just
I guess you can watch it. We're not voting.
yeah, she could. Yeah, as long as we're not voting on anything. Yeah, she can just watch it. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
All good.
You go for it.
Good? Okay.
Yeah.
So like she said, I'm gonna just talk to you about temporary certificate of occupancy for the residential units. Start out with the agenda. So what I'm gonna talk about first is what is a temporary certificate of occupancy, and going forward, I'm gonna probably just refer to that as a TCO for a little bit shorter. And we're gonna talk about the builder responsibilities, city responsibilities, and then lastly, we'll talk about temporary occupancy issues and then the resolution that we've come up with. So let's just get started. In the City of Lee Summit Code of Ordinances, Section 7-168, and this is paraphrased, it says a little more, but a TCO can be issued when a structure can be safely occupied and used for the intended use. So this essentially, it allows a buyer to have early access while the final punch list items are being completed by the builder. A lot of times, a builder will make a promise that, such a date that they can move in on, and then at that time, it doesn't always transpire, and then the buyer has sold their house and they're closing on it, and if anyone's ever moved, they know that this can be an issue. So that's part of the reason to have a TCO. To qualify for a TCO, all the interior inspections need to be completed and passed. So we will not issue a TCO unless everything on the interior is done, because we don't want the building inspector to have to come back in, look behind furniture, have the homeowner there. It's just a very much more convenient to do it this way. Outstanding inspections to the exterior, to the home or the lot, as long as they do not create a life safety concern, we can issue that for them. And as we go on, I'll get into what those type of inspections are. A TCO is valid for 30 days. It can be extended. And the cost per TCO is $50 per time that we extend it or do it and then extend it. It's $50 also. So the most common reasons for a TCO issuance, right now, really the most common is the availability and viability of sod are the biggest reasons. So in the wintertime, obviously right now, nobody's cutting sod. It's pretty low winter this right now, but sod's not really being cut. And, obviously if we get a big snow, they're not going to be doing it. And then also that gets the ground wetter, and so it causes a longer time from the time that they stop cutting it to when they can again. So you're usually looking at 3 to 4 months minimum to where they will not cut sod in the winter. So that's the main reason. And then sometimes in the summer when it gets too hot, they don't cut because people aren't working because it's hot. And then we also get the builders trying to delay the sod because of the amount of money it costs to have the water, the water bill to keep it alive for the homeowner before they move in. And then also the homeowner doesn't like to do it, so sometimes they request the TCO. Also, the other items are damage during the construction, such as cracked curbs, sidewalks, ADA ramps, and these also at certain times of the year can't be repaired during the winter because of weather condition. Just to give a little background on that, during the construction of a subdivision, the builders can't get a building permit until the substantial completion for the subdivision is done. And we require ADA ramps to be in, obviously the curbs and all the infrastructure. So ADA ramps are usually put on all the corners of the streets, and sometimes during the construction of a home, those ADA ramps or curbs get damaged, whether it be from the contractors or whether it be sometimes that grading, when it's time to grade to get ready to put the sod in, they scrape them up or do damage to them. And so a lot of times those are caught at the very end, right before they're trying to get moved in. So that's another reason to give a TCO. And on average, we can have up to 15 TCOs at a time, pending, just depending on the time of the year and what the situation is. Builder responsibilities. The builder needs to request a TCO from the building inspector. They need to pay the fee at the time of the occupancy inspection. So a lot of times the builder will request an occupancy inspection, and if the building inspector goes out, does his inspection, if everything isn't passed, all the way from sod being installed to everything on the inside, to splash blocks, gutters, everything, he'll just fail it. But if the builder requests a TCO, then as long as he meets the requirements of life safety issues, we can issue a TCO, and then that would enable the occupants, the homeowners, to move in. Also, responsibility of the builders is to correct the items within 30 days schedule an inspection so the permit can be closed out. So we give them punch list, and then they are supposed to complete that punch list within that 30-day time frame or request a TCO going forward, an extension of it. And this kind of leads into this one, if the items are not correct in 30 days, they must submit a TCO extension prior to the expiration date. And sometimes that's where we get caught up in some of the issues that we have. City responsibilities. Upon request, confirm the appropriateness of issuing a TCO. That's basically what I talked about earlier, making sure the life safety issues are up to date. Identify and document the items that must be corrected during the TCO period. Track the progress of correcting the items. Conduct follow-up inspections when requested by the builder. And then issue or deny any TCO extensions. And then also notify the builder if permit status changes to the notice of a violation. And that's when that can happen. That's when the builder lets the TCO time frame lapse, which is kind of what happened a few times over this whole situation. Issues and resolutions. There is room for improvement for the builders and the city staff. As Tracy mentioned earlier, this was brought to attention from a homeowner. They identified their home was still in a TCO status, and it had been there for quite a while, and it was basically one of these items that I said. There was an ADA ramp on the corner of their sidewalk that had been cracked and wasn't repaired. This happened to be same builder. There was identified there was like 8 or 9 other ones in the same area that had very similar issues. As of this morning, I think there was 8 or 9 of them. We have 7 of them, I believe, closed out, and the other 2 are being addressed right now. So we have taken care of that problem and working to finish off the last 2. Also, we have met with our team of building inspectors to go over the TCO process just to make sure that everyone understands the procedure. We've also reviewed how we rotate our inspectors to ensure the familiarity with the TCO units. Sometimes when this is very important when we have an inspector out on leave or just calls in sick for a day, and then we have to rotate our inspectors. So we're going to pay closer attention to that. And then also we meet with the KC HBA Home Builders Association. We meet with them quarterly. We have very good participation in that group, and so I think we meet again in March, and so we'll be bringing up again about tightening up this TCO process. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry, I kind of ran through it pretty quick.
No, that was great. Do you guys have any questions, comments?
This just specifically applies to residential only, commercial properties.
We have TCOs for commercial too, but I kind of addressed this particular one. It's very similar for the commercial part of it. We will go back inside a little. Like I said, we make sure everything's completely done on the inside. Give you an example, apartment buildings, each unit has to be completed, just like I said, for the home. Like, we won't go back into the units and look at them again. We need to have those done before we would issue a TCO. Like, same thing for a hotel, each one of those. You know, a Whataburger, we would probably go back in and we could look at some items that are on the inside. But most of the time, it's generally on the outside and a few items on the inside. But residential, that's how it is.
Okay. I think that's all we've got. Thank you so much for doing the presentation.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to roundtable. Any roundtable? Mr. Elam?
Any roundtable? No roundtable from us.
All right. Well, then we will adjourn this meeting at 5:58.